Ahead of NXT's first ever PLE on the CW, this week's show delivered action and drama directed towards the Bash. A promised double contract signing came a chaotic mess of a night for GM Robert Stone, who almost had to find a new opponent for Morocco instead of Tony D. Keanu Carver run into a surprise loss at the hand of EK Prosper, and the Culling faced a pair of losses before Nico Vance turned against Sean Spears. So yeah, there was a lot going on, but we started things off with the Evolve Championship match between Aaron Rourke and Tristan Angel. This was supposed to be the NXT debut of Rourke, highlighting his talent on a larger scale, but much of the action focused on Angels. He was dominant except for when Shalada Hill got involved, and it was clear down the stretch that Rourke would have lost if not for the interference. The whole flow of this match suffered because of the dynamic and left both men looking less ready for top level competition. Rourke has obvious athletic talent and could use a large spotlight in the future, but it would not be surprising if he was back down to Evolve for a while. Angels has a match with Hill up next, which should be solid, even though it does not come off as purely worthy right now. But yeah, for this alone, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. As we then moved on to Shogun Sugars, and he kind of proved he had it in this segment. Fire throughout this segment with Dion Lennox. However, Lennox also deserves credit for his confidence on the mic, standing out to Sugars, delivering on his own. This was the best sale of the feud so far by a wide margin and made this match feel bigger than it has any right to be. This will be a massive opportunity for both men to show themselves as more than just members or former members of Dark State. Sugars especially has so much hype behind him that a good performance could send him straight to the top of the card. So yeah, this was really great stuff. As we then moved on to Hank and Tank, and they're a fun, explosive tag team to watch at a pace that can absolutely translate to the main roster anytime, and they took on Birthright here. They're upside down on Raw and SmackDown is low, more than likely a jobber like an Alpha Academy, but the tag division could use their attacks. Stacks and Connors are potential higher upsides, but still figuring out, especially Connors. As a whole though, these two teams clicked with a competitive contest, only weighed down by the unnecessary use of Matt Matthews. The comedian was just there to set up a spot of Charlie Dempsey falling onto the crotch of Lexus King. It was an awkward juvenile scene that did not seem to be for any age group watching the show. At least it likely will end the involvement of Matthews in NXT. But yeah, for this I'm going to give it 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to NXT promising a double contract signing, instead relegating the Women's Championship contract signing to a quick backstage shakedown. While these two sold attention of their recent issues, this presentation allowed the NXT Championship match to far outshine the women's match. This is despite the fact that Kendall Gray and Lola Vice was the best match of the night and probably should main event. It's yet another example of NXT overlooking the strength of the brand and its talented women's roster. Gray and Vice are best self telling their story in the ring. It's hard to pick a winner at this stage, but it would be surprising if Gray waits much longer for her big win. As we then moved on to Keanu Carver versus EK Prosser, and is it too soon to call Carver's NXT's new over Femi? He may not quite have the size, but he does have the power and menace while still having that charisma. They played out well against EK Prosper, who he threw around with ease throughout this contest. Prosper's not ready to be NXT's Javon Evans, but he played a part in this contest, bouncing around the ring. While Carver should be in the NXT Championship conversation, this loss does not hurt him, sending a clear story that he was lacking while he waits. Carver has a ton of confidence, but may need to find his own limits if he wants to make it all to the top. Prosper is a good foil as scrappy underdog that will keep annoying Carver on his path towards the NXT Championship. So yeah, 8 out of 10. As we then moved on to the Women's Speed Tournament final, Izzy Damon against Ariana Grace. It was a minor surprise that Grace defeated Damon in this match, since NXT is trying to portray Damon as a Women's Championship level competitor. The worst part though was the distraction set up from Spears. Calling for a high five just before the finish made no sense. Once again, Spears, the veteran, was portrayed as a dumb rookie just hoping to hang out with his friends. Grace and Ren should deliver a solid sprint at the Gab if they could use more time than just 5 minutes. Either woman could carry the Women's Speed Championship forward, but Grace holding the gold with Lexus King despite never working fast would be a clever gag for Birthright. So yeah, overall I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Moving on then to the Culling versus Dorian Van Dix and Sean Legacy. While this was a decent tag match, mainly carried by the obvious chemistry of the athletic Dux and Legacy, the aftermath was a real story. Nico could not stand for Spears costing the Culling 2 matches back to back and took out his mentor. It was time for the Culling to break up with Spears, even if it's hard to see any direction for the chairman going forward. He was not only unnecessary to the group, but seemingly holding him back. While Vic Joseph so there's a potential mistake by Nico rather than a full turn. It's hard to go back from a chokeslam through the announce table. DVD and Legacy have an obvious path forward in an unstaffed tag division and should go after Vanity Project given the team's history. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. And we then, after a night of chaos, focus on the injuries to Tony D, the champ and his devious challenger ready to fight at the Gab. And yeah, this should be a solid match, and it would be surprising if Naraka's cheap fireball sets him up to win the NXT title. However, at this stage, a fireball alone does not see a submission set up the fall of Tony D. Great American Bash would be a perfect moment to debut any backup to Naraka, who may have even forming a new House of Torture. If that group does arrive, Naraka winning the title would make sense and set the stage for D'Angelo's exit from NXT. The rest of the final segment is fine, clearly indicating Mason Rook is still after the championship and distracting him from the Vanity Project for the moment. Drake v Rook would be a match on the great cards at the pay-per-view would have made sense, but yeah, I guess it will be saved for next week, but we'll have to see. But yeah, an okay final segment. Overall, NXT this week gets a 4 out of 10 from me. Time is up for the Great American Bash build. NXT mostly succeeded putting together a strong card. While NXT is hyping into the history-changing show, it's more or less just a better built TV episode airing on Sunday. It's still being a performance centre, and nothing on the card could have happened on a weekly show. This week's NXT was underwhelming in terms of in-ring action, but it's likely every match on the GAB will outshine the match on this show. This is where NXT is putting its full focus, and with the right twists and turns at the GAB, NXT could pull more fans towards its product going forward. This does not change the fact that this was a forgettable 2 hours for the show. So yeah, 4 out of 10 from me. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.